Welcome, friends. It is Unlocked episode 378 for the future. We're recording in the past for January 20-something. I don't even know anymore. Can't keep it all straight, but it's the after the Martin Luther King holiday.
22nd.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
22nd. So we've got a lot to cover. Nevertheless, even though we're recording in the past, big news, the Star Wars project in development at EA that was Amy Hennig's game morphed into something else. That has now been canceled and morphed into something else. So we'll talk all about that. Plus a big update for Sea of Thieves that will require an unusual step for players to keep on playing it. We've got some news on the public beta for The Division 2 and much more. I'm Ryan McCaffrey. To my right, get ready for it, Destin Legary.
Bam!
There.
Hey, everybody. Mortal Kombat Day. We'll get into it.
We'll get to that in just a moment.
Goes up in decibel every week.
Yeah.
Hey.
Destin Bull.
Hey, hi. How you doing?
Brandon Tyrell. Clutching his heart after that.
Yeah, you startled me. I got startled.
Bamality.
Bamality.
And Miranda Sanchez.
Hello.
Hi.
Been hanging out with Ed Boon too much.
Well, on that note, big news of the week that was the Mortal Kombat 11 gameplay reveal live stream. We carried it all here on IGN. We sent our biggest Mortal Kombat brains belonging to you and Mitchell.
Saltzman.
Yes, down to Los Angeles. And you guys played it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Please tell us about it because I know there's all kinds of videos on IGN. Please go. We got a playlist on YouTube with the fatalities montage of everybody that's been revealed so far, the story, cinematic. Please go look at that. But Destin, you got to play it. Please tell us about this video game.
So it brings back the tower system. That was really, really interesting. And you can select like modifiers and such that you can add there. Overall, the gameplay. Sorry, we didn't really talk about
Wait,
that
the tower system, you're talking about like the story mode?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Well, no, not story mode. You can just go to a tower and fight various combatants all the way to the top. Nothing happened when we actually finished it.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things we did.
It's like setting up your own tournament.
Yeah, sort of.
Kind of. It's just like just
CPUs,
against,
right?
yeah, but just against CPU. Yes.
Yeah, totally. This one adds interesting modifiers. Like you could have a skeleton hand come out and hit people. It kind of gives us hints about who we might see as playable characters come back. Combat-wise, it's slower. And when Mitchell talked to Ed Boon and asked him about that, he said it might be intentional. Or he said it's intentional for the footsie game. Mitchell has the exact quote in his article. But yeah, I had the same impression. It's slower, more methodical. You have to be more careful with when you decide to take a chance and go into a combo. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how the pros combat each other to the death.
So I watched the... I'm sorry, I forget his name. It was Sonic Fox versus basically the last match of the live stream event. And it looked like, I mean, at first they came out and they were just beating the holy living hell out of each other.
Yeah.
It was crazy and fireworks. And then they went into that footsie game and they started getting really technical about all the different things you can do now. It seems like that zoning game is really is like a big part of 11.
One example is there is a new blocking system where you can time a block perfectly, and then you can build off of that and counter your opponent and go into a combo or something if you hit the right move. And that's going to be really, really interesting, especially for high-level competitive play.
Right, because it seems like a good comeback mechanic. Like there is an opportunity there for you to turn things around a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I think whenever I played Mortal Kombat, I'm very casual fighting game player. I just button mash and then maybe learn one combo, and I'm like, yeah, I did it. But it felt like there was not a way to break yourself out, especially because it was so fast-paced with 10. And I think if they are just kind of taking a little bit of a different direction, I think adding that layer of depth not only helps people maybe get out of something that they couldn't before, but also it just makes, I think, that pro-level play just so much more exciting because there's more tools for them to use.
I think there was a way to do it with your meter in 10 to kind of stop a combo. Because I know it's an Injustice. They have the Clash system, right? That gives you a chance to regain life in round 2.
Yeah.
That's also from NetherRealm. It's the superhero fighting game. And I'm sure it's going to be there. But the X-rays in 10 were rarely used at high-level play because everybody would use their meter to buff attacks and such. So they've kind of changed the meter system in Mortal Kombat 10, and they've given you...
mean 11.
Yes, sorry, in 11, and they've given you the fatal blow mechanic, which is basically the X-rays from Mortal Kombat 10, but you have it at your disposal.
But it's like the clash system from Injustice 2, where you can use it, and if it's blocked, it slowly refills over time, right?
No, it's gone. You basically get one shot with it. So if you decide to use it and you miss, it's
Did
gone.
Eminem start playing in your head? For anybody else right there? Miranda knows what I'm
You
talking
only get
about.
one shot?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice, I like that. Don't ever talk about spaghetti around Ryan.
Yeah.
So, Destin, so you playing the game, like watching the stream. I've said this before. I was obsessed with Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter when they first hit it big in the early '90s, and then I just completely fell off of it, and I don't really play anymore. But that stream yesterday, I was laughing hysterically. At the fatality.
Oh,
Yeah,
And I mean
just-
in a good way, not laughing at the game. I mean, they were just, it's so intentionally comical and over the top.
Over the top.
Yeah.
I was just cracking up at my desk. How is it to actually pull them off and when you're playing?
So they had the move sets in the menus, but they actually said that you can just press the last button and it would work. So they were really easy. I would just go mid and like hit the button that popped it.
They
probably
wanted you
did
to
that-
see it.
They did that for the event. So that's why we have them all in 4K 60 on IGN.com. And yeah, they're great. And they're sort of like your present at the end of a match for beating your opponent. And I really, really like them. I don't know if I have a favorite yet. I think Baraka's Brain Eat is probably one of my favorites.
It's got to be
just-
Scorpion's chain thing, right?
It's
'Cause
chain thing
That's
where he
really good
wraps
too.
around the person and like
it's
splits them in half.
So
Yeah.
just needlessly pageantry.
I think I have to go with Baraka's though. Like I think that just
Brainy.
went, like places I did not expect. It's like, oh, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Just to rip it out.
Like
Got-
how much
Okay.
how much farther can he go?
Yeah.
Turns
I
out
would-
a lot farther.
I would pay an extra $10 for the developer edition
Don't say
of
this.
Mortal Kombat 11, where it just had, remember the whole collector's edition phase, I feel like trend really kicked off and went big with Halo 2, where they had the silver metallic case and that DVD in it that had a bunch of like making of featurettes and stuff on it.
Oh.
Give me one of those. I
the
would,
mocap dudes?
no, I would. I want to watch video of the meetings in the meeting rooms at NetherRealm where I want to know what they rejected.
Yeah.
I want to know like what did any of them ever go, whoa, Charles, what? Hold on now. That
Seriously,
is
Charles.
disgusting.
Jesus.
I'm calling HR like
Charles, talk to someone. You need to talk to someone.
I would pay to have been a fly on the wall in the fatality brainstorm meetings and to find out what got left on the cutting room floor and how they like started and just kept building up on top of one idea after another.
Well, for this one, you'll notice that they all sort of end with a slow-mo mechanic.
Yeah.
And Ed Boon actually said it's because he wanted it to almost be a painting that you would hang on your wall. So, like, they decided to
geez.
go with that. And it's sort of a new little touch they've been doing. I really like it. Do you guys like the slow-down, like, freeze frame?
Yeah,
of
yes.
a
I think it
moment?
helps you appreciate it more. You're like, oh, yes, the artistry here.
Well, even outside of that, like I just love that whole. It makes it feel larger than life because they did this with Injustice 2, right? Injustice 2 too.
With their outros?
As
where they
well.
throw the battering?
Yeah, or like you just finish beating the crap out of the Joker, and then you turn around and like walk into a shady alleyway, and it kind of slows down, and then you get that hero moment.
Yeah.
And I saw that especially with Garrus.
It's like Garrus, like Mass Effect.
Garrus, okay. New character in Mortal Kombat 11 if you haven't seen the footage yet. But he just punches someone's face literally into nothing.
Yeah.
And then turns around and walks through the sandstorm, and I'm like, oh, what a badass.
Yeah. You can customize your intros and outros
Oh.
in the game, and there's a whole set of different outfits that you can give each of the characters. Like Sub-Zero had a white outfit in a lot of our footage because I had gone in and messed with that and left the white suit
Forgot to
on.
turn it back.
And so he's wearing like a different suit, and you're like, oh, that's really weird. You don't even know if it's Scorpion or Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
I actually really did like that customization and like how they kind of went through it really quickly. It's like, hey, here, look at all these cool combinations that you
It's,
can do now.
it's basically
Nice.
an Injustice 2, right? It's like you unlock all those. Well, these are costumes. Can you change individual pieces?
Yes, I think the ones that they showed, there's like 3 pieces you
Yeah, they
can change.
don't they have
depending on what it
customizable
is.
stat bonuses on them? Wasn't that a thing that Ed walked through during the
Potentially. So for context, like the reason I don't really know what happened in the stream is because we kind of had a weird process of we had to meet at a bus stop, then get on a bus, and then we were shipped to the event. When we got to the event, it was standing space only.
Gotcha.
So I'm standing in the back. I can't understand anything that they're saying. And then I'm like, hey, are you guys opening the gameplay thing soon? So I just waited in line to play the gameplay, and I'm watching the stage, sort of trying to understand what they're saying. And then I watched like the intro on my phone.
Nice.
So I'm still playing catch up a little bit.
Well, I couldn't help, like every time I would see Garrus written, like on IGN after, my brain kept flipping it to Gears.
Oh yeah,
and
Gears
stuff.
us.
And it just made me think like, oh, Marcus Phoenix, like this now MK11's so over the top.
We talked about this last week.
Yeah, he needs to be in there, and so I tweet that out as just like a dumb thought that that I would actually like to see. But Ed Boon retweets it.
Ooh.
Cliff Blazinski replies and goes, "I support this," and then Rod Ferguson liked it, and he replied. So it's just like, if Marcus Phoenix ends up in there, I won't,
because of you.
I'm taking full credit. That's all. I'm just going on record right now. Thank me later.
Yeah,
if it happens.
He makes sense in that universe.
Now,
he does.
Now we need the inevitable. What guest characters do we want to see come to MK11?
So I'm sure that feature will be on IGN.com soon. Right, Destin?
Get to work.
Spawn. Yeah, I don't have anything else going on.
Gears. Yeah.
But yeah,
it looks cool.
The game looks great. The audience interest is huge. We saw massive traffic numbers on IGN yesterday.
It's actually really fun watching it with everybody too, because we were actually watching a different stream when we were ahead, and then we'd be freaking out, and then go over to this big 4K TV we have, and everyone else is watching.
A few seconds behind.
Yeah, just like watching this. It's like, well, how do you react to this?
Yeah. Well, we were covering it. Yeah. So we were watching one streaming service that had no delay on it because we had to be like up to the second. And then everyone else was watching the other one, and then I would hear Miranda go like, "Oh," and then she'd hear me go like, "Oh, come on," and we'd look at each other, and then 3 seconds later, you hear a whole crowd of people go like, "What? No." I think it was when just more and more of that face kept coming off, piece by piece.
Yeah, that was the most surprising thing. I think it just kept going, and
it just kept going. I really wish I hadn't said that sentence like on camera, because I was like. Listening to a group of people talk about Mortal Kombat sounds like a bunch of serial killers talking about their day.
The thing is, at least I know from like our take on it, like we appreciate the absurdity.
Yeah.
A lot of gory things I'm kind of like on the fence about with how it's portrayed, and I think in this, because it's like it's weird to say, but even footing, like everyone's getting just as equally hurt in this.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so extreme that it makes it really fun. And like like even with like the slowdowns, like the way they portray everything it's meant to be funny.
Nevertheless, it's gonna piss off so
sure.
many.
For
I mean, I totally understand that.
Which
like,
Mortal Kombat always had.
Yeah.
People are already writing letters.
Did 10 still do that? Because I know back in the 90s, everybody was really mad. But today they're like, that's Mortal Kombat. I don't let my kids play that.
And that's fair. Like, it's very gory. Like, don't let a 10-year-old play it. I mean, if you're fine with it, that's fine. But,
But I think it's okay. And in fact, I think it's important to be able to distinguish between this is way over the top gore, and that's okay. You can enjoy it for the sort of farce that it is. Versus,
but also if you don't like it, that's fine too.
Yeah, you don't have to play. Like, that's fine. Go find something else.
I think I did ask him once if they had ever gone too far with fatalities, and he brought up something. Man, I wish I knew his exact quotes on the top of my head, but he said something along the lines of, they never try and go too far where it's like uncomfortable. They try and skirt that line where it is sort of comical almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're terribly gory and awful. But yeah, they're never gonna like go into terrible thing.
It's like juxtaposing Mortal Kombat 11 versus like the torture porn big wave of movies that came out like in the early 2000s, right? With like Hostel and Saw.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this kid is in Peru and got abducted. Like, that is a scary situation. You've got two magical warriors from different dimensions ripping each other in half with chains in a parking lot somewhere in Detroit. Like, it's fine. Like, I guess like everyone knows this.
Are you bringing this back to 8 Mile?
Yeah. you just gotta
lose. Is Eminem an unlockable
you
character
gotta lose
in Mortal
yourself.
Kombat 11?
Oh man.
Yeah. Mom spaghetti.
Yeah, I know. I think that it's the eyeballs that always get me.
Oh,
when you see them like just popping out, just like,
yeah. Baraka's fatality like sticks this thing in your face, and you're like, oh, that's pretty bad. And then it goes all the way through, and there's an eyeball on the end of it. You're like, oh, that's way worse.
But once again, I mean, it's a testament to not only the quality of the game that NetherRealm seems to be putting together here. But we talked about this before. NetherRealm is doing that Bethesda Game Studios thing where it's one super talented team, not two, one super talented team that alternates between the two major IPs that they have, or two major franchises, I guess would be the more accurate term. And we see people get super fired up for Elder Scrolls and Fallout, the Todd Howard ones, every time they come out, because it ends up being 5-6 years between them when they're alternating one from the other. And it's the same thing with NetherRealm. We've been doing Injustice, Mortal Kombat. So it's a nice 4-year wait between the games. So it just builds up. You're ready for a new Mortal Kombat every 4 years.
And the great thing is like Bethesda, right? It's even if your particular flavor is Mortal Kombat, if you like Mortal Kombat, you're still going to like stuff in Injustice, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, if you like Elder Scrolls, you're going to find things to like in Fallout.
I'm a bigger Injustice fan myself. I like the minutia of Mortal Kombat, all the fatalities, all the character sassy intros, the story. I like all that stuff, but I just don't spend the time to play at a higher level. Injustice, I have my Batman combos, which they carried over from 1 to 2, so I can kind of hop in and actually play at a okay competitive level. In Mortal Kombat, I never learned a character.
So the reason you like Injustice over Mortal Kombat is because you spent the time to learn Batman 8 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's totally fair. Hey,
He's
you are entitled.
He's an excellent character,
Yeah.
and I really, really like him a lot. And yeah, I don't know that I have the time to dedicate to learning to play at a high level in Mortal Kombat these days.
That's fair.
But that doesn't mean the game's bad. I still love the game.
We'll see. I noticed on the stream yesterday, when we recorded this, it was yesterday, there were 25 slots on the character selection screen, and we got, 7, I think, of the initial character reveals. So plenty more to come, and obviously DLC will add to that.
Yeah,
Lots more to go.
They were teasing Cabal might be in it, right?
Yeah, there's been a few characters teased.
Yeah.
Cassie Cage, Cabal, Katana, Liu Kang.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
There's some standards that I feel they're just gonna be there.
yeah,
Like they're not revealed yet, but they have to be there, right?
Yeah.
you know Scorpion, you know Sub-Zero, you know Liu Kang.
Yeah.
Like, you know those characters are going to be in there.
Kano was on the menu. Yeah.
Was he?
Like in
Kano was on the
phrasing.
menu?
In
Phrasing.
That's
Yeah.
literally a fatality.
with Baraka in the game, you kind of have to, yeah.
Oh, Sonya's fatality, for example, is called Get to the Chopra.
Yeah, I know.
Like all the names are amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah.
How do I get that
Goofy.
job of just naming fatalities?
So I love your idea of a BTS piece about like the brainstorming session to come up
watch
with these.
that?
Yeah, like Scott, the intern, is just a superstar in this meeting because he spent his entire high school career just doodling in a notebook
And playing Mortal Kombat.
and now he's got it. But I really want to see like the next step where they're like mocapping this stuff.
I don't think you can mocap it. I think you got to hand animate all of that.
I would just love to see like two people in like skin tight green suits with foam balls all over them, like pretending to eat each other's brains. That to me sounds like a fun watch.
Video games.
Yes, video games. Like, did they mocap the chopper at the end of her Sonya Blade's fatality?
Maybe.
Tell me more.
We're 18 minutes into the show. Let's move past Mortal Kombat. As fun as it is, to get to the other big story of this week, which is EA's canceled another Star Wars game, sort of, kind of. This is, in fact, sort of the same game being canceled for the second time, in a manner of speaking.
This poor game.
You recall last year, Amy Hennig's Star Wars game, codenamed Ragtag, which was going to be an Uncharted-esque, third-person cinematic single-player adventure, which was canned, and all of Visceral was unfortunately shuttered in the wake of that. And then the remains of the project, including the assets that had been created, were moved to EA Vancouver, who had been supporting Ragtag, and they were then said to be crafting a new sort of third-person open-world Star Wars game. That's been kicked to the curb. And so Jason Schreier of Kotaku gets the tip of the hat for breaking this as his specialty. And it's just frustrating. I mean, I guess before I throw it to you guys, I'll add that Jason has learned that there's apparently a smaller scale project that is replacing this at EA Vancouver, that it's aimed to get out around the fall of 2020, which would probably be around the release of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet. But nevertheless, this is just. Here we go again. EA did give a statement to Kotaku. There's been speculation overnight about one of our Star Wars projects. As a natural part of the creative process, the great work by our team in Vancouver continues and will evolve into future Star Wars content and games. We're fully committed to making more Star Wars games, etc., spin away from the thing.
Yeah.
But, not a denial there. That's, all but effectively confirming the Schreier's report. And it's just, if you're a Star Wars fan or an EA shareholder, you've got to just be throwing your hands up in the air at this point and going, what the heck?
Yep.
No
Heck it
response.
Here's the thing: is what can you say? Like, what can you say about this situation?
I wish Amy Hennig was still writing it.
Yep.
I'm fatigued by this story, to be honest.
Yeah,
Cancel. And it's like, I would have liked to play more Star Wars games. That would have been nice, but it's just not happening. And I kind of give up on EA figuring out how to make it happen.
That's a crazy thing. They've had the license for over half the 10-year run that they're supposed to have.
6 years into a 10-year exclusive arrangement.
They've got a pair of Battlefront games.
And a mobile game.
That's
it.
And they've got Fallen Order coming holiday 2019 if they stick to that release cadence
At least we'll get
or schedule.
that.
Yeah.
And that is from the director of God of War 3. That game will probably be really good because Respawn's whole track record is outstanding, and not just as Respawn, but that's the bulk of that team was Infinity Ward. So there's a lot of talent in that building, and that there's plenty of reason to be optimistic about Jedi Fallen Order. Though remember, it still technically hasn't been formally announced. It was announced from the peanut gallery.
Oh, right.
From Vince announcing it from his seat at EA's press conference.
But there is a website that says coming holiday 2019. So that's as good of an announcement as you can get without a
trailer and details.
This is what the game is going to be. Yeah.
We know by all accounts, it's going to be a third person.
It's
heavy action.
It makes sense for the studio.
It's the Metroid Prime, the thing. Like, we have details, we have information, we don't know what that game is. And I'm curious because Respawn's a first-person shooter development primarily now with that pedigree from Infinity War as well. Like, are we gonna have another first-person Star Wars game? Is that what Fallen Order is
I don't
be?
think so. It's Stig, and I can't remember. I can never remember his last name. I always just think of him as Stig, who was the director on God of War 3. This is his project, not Vince's, and he has plenty of experience in third-person combat. But this was the sort of thesis that I put to you guys is, EA and Star Wars, what went wrong? Because if you're Disney,
EA,
I think hold on, it makes a lot of sense. If you're Disney, you've bought Star Wars outright. You want to get a lot more Star Wars projects going. Hey, that means video games as well because LucasArts was shuttered. Well, okay, what do we do here? Well, you know what? EA is one of the largest publishers in the world. They're offering us a ton of money for a Madden-like exclusivity arrangement. Cool, we'll just sign this deal with them. And now here we are, and it's Hennig's game gone. The Vancouver version of it gone. I'm probably leaving out a cancellation here or there too. Probably. I feel like there's more that I'm even forgetting, but I just don't. I mean, making games is extraordinarily difficult. We don't even know that without but we don't even know the full extent of it without being game developers. But this feels like corporate mismanagement. I'm not saying that's what it is because again, I don't work at EA. But it's just like it doesn't feel like it's the developer's fault on this stuff.
Exactly. Like it seems like project mismanagement on the EA side. I don't know what the hell's going on over there, but the fact that these cancellations have been so public, because they'll talk about them and then they cancel them. Or no, actually the Hennig project was leaked, right? But then they let go of her.
Well, no, I mean
she left.
As far as a public announcement of the cancellation or of the project to begin with. Well, remember they showed at E3.
Yeah, there was that real.
Or was it Celebration? Star Wars. One of those two. They had it was literally 6 seconds of a character coming out.
It was E3. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So it was publicized.
Yeah, it was. There was no title or anything, but it was. Yeah, here's this.
Yeah, they just need to stop talking about stuff that it just feels like they're talking about stuff too early and the project isn't managed properly.
100%. It is capitalizing, in my opinion, it is capitalizing on the momentum of an announcement and then saying it's Kojima and Konami parting ways and Sony being like, Kojima's making a game for us and it's going to be awesome and it's 4 years away.
Yeah.
EA gets Star Wars license. EA starts everyone now works on Star Wars, and they're like, all right, this is what we're doing. We're going to have so much Star Wars for you. And like none of it was ready. And I imagine the scope of it probably ballooned too far out of hand. And, you know,
well, that was Schreier's report, was that it was the scope of it was huge and it was going to take a very long time, and they wanted something turned around more quickly. So
that makes sense. I mean,
yeah, if you have like a 10-year period and you're 6 years already into it, you're running out of time if you're trying to get within that period. And so I could see them being worried about that as well, especially if like next gen's coming up and then you have to keep that in mind for development. And I'm sure there's like a lot of complexities there that we can't know, but ultimately we all know it's just super disappointing to see them keep shutting down these games that seem really cool and for very curious reasons.
So I'm fascinated by the business side of the games industry, even though, again, I don't fully understand it sitting here as a media guy, but the idea of it interests me. And so that sort of led me to think, well, okay, I'm not an EA shareholder because, number one, I'm not allowed to be. I work here.
Not? You didn't?
No.
Oh.
Full disclosure, I am not a shareholder. But no, if you are a shareholder at EA, maybe, and let's say a major shareholder,
I'm pissed.
Is there a point where
their stock's really bad right now?
Where you have to look at this and go, look, I'm invested in this company. The Star Wars deal sounded great for me because Star Wars games would sell huge.
Oh my God, you're going to make so much money.
Make me more money as a shareholder. And 2 games and a mobile project have come out of it 6 years in. If I'm a shareholder, I got to feel like there might come a point very soon where they start really holding the executive team, I'm talking CEO on down,
some point
very accountable. Like, hey, you guys, what are you doing?
Some sort of vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I don't know what the business term is.
I'm not calling
Chancellor Valorum.
Yeah.
I'm not calling for
it's very on topic.
Yeah.
I'm not calling for anybody to get fired or lose their job, but I'm just saying if I would think a major shareholder and a group of them would start to think that, like, hey, what the heck is Andrew Wilson and this executive team doing?
I mean, yeah, it gets into the unknowables, right? Like what goes on behind those scenes, we don't know.
Yeah.
Is it from the executive level? I don't.
Maybe they're going scorched earth and going to rebuild from the start.
Yeah, but they don't have the time. They got 4 years.
Yeah, and the worrying thing too is like that they're trying to scale it back a whole lot. So it's like, what does that mean for it being a game? Like, what does that look like? And if you're just trying to rush something out because you're trying to pick up these pieces and say, well, we have to mesh all these together and make it a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad, of course, for like the developers. I mean, they're working so hard at this, I'm sure, and I can't imagine like how frustrating it would be for this project to keep getting like reshuffled so much and just. Like already you have the pain of that whole team being lost at Visceral, and then like this is what's happening next with it. And
yeah,
I think best case scenario, yeah, I agree with you. I think best case scenario, you've got 4 years to make that Star Wars game that you've been trying to make for next gen consoles, and you end on a high. You end that licensing deal on a high note with a big successful next gen launch title. But in the interim, you've gotten, I assume there's going to be another Battlefront game, and you've got Jedi Fallen Order, and maybe another mobile game. So
yeah, I mean, it's first of all, if you're Disney, I don't know, but if you're Disney, I would think you're looking at this going, no way am I re-upping this deal.
Yeah,
no chance am I re-upping this deal if I'm Disney.
I think they take the Marvel approach after this. After this 10-year run is done, I think they're like, who wants to make a Star Wars game? Bring me your best ideas.
Case by case basis.
Bring me a list of needs, and we'll talk money.
I'm really curious to see if Disney ever says anything about like what their expectations were for this, because yeah, it's been 6 years. And we have technically 3 games and then another one on the way. That seems like a lot, but like I was just looking at like how many studios does EA have under their belt? They have 19 studios, and granted, those other studios are working on their own projects. Like they have things to do, but it's just curious to see how maybe some of those smaller support studios aren't like working on their own little project or getting creative in some sort of way with this property, right? Like it's just curious to see. And like, I wonder what the expectations were from Disney.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw...
Because what if they didn't expect like 8 games, expected like a handful? I mean, here we are complaining because we see the side, we're coming from a different perspective, but maybe from the business side, this is not the worst. I think maybe
this isn't a worst case scenario for them.
Not to play like... I'm just like questioning, not necessarily that I think this is right. I think if they're seeing
Trying to solve why it's happening.
right, if you're seeing this game being canceled multiple times, if I were in charge of this, I would be concerned. But I'm not too sure again what the expectations were for this partnership.
It's fair.
I bet we get a Battlefront 3.
I
Sure,
have little
absolutely.
doubt about that.
I'm almost sure of it. Yeah, I mean, just considering the schedule of how fast they seem to make those games. But the thing is like, speaking to your point, like as us who like video games and love playing video games and love playing Star Wars video games, I don't think it's necessarily so much about the quantity of it. It's just what have we gotten out of this, right? And granted, that sounds a little disingenuous because we have zero input on this. You know, EA can make whatever EA wants to make, but like as fans of great video games and fans of what we know EA can do when they deliver on something, the stakes, not the stakes, but like the thought of what a Star Wars game from EA could have been is not what we've kind of seen so far. And not to take anything away from Battlefront 2, like that was a great fun experience.
It was a very, very good game that got bogged down in a microtransaction
and there's some
thing of their own doing.
Development issues and like the scale and scope of that thing as well, right? Was back and forth. But
Also worth mentioning, we had a friend that worked on the game for transparency.
Yes.
So
right, Mitch worked on that game. But it just kind of begs the question, like, where could we be by now? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's so like caveat. It's so much easier to say this
Yes,
and actually
absolutely.
do it. But
Absolutely.
like, I'll give credit. Victor Lucas, who's a longtime games media guy, he's a great guy. He had this great idea that he tweeted. I was like, oh, wouldn't it have been great to have a smaller scale project like you remember like Super Star Wars for the Super Nintendo, like
No, Alex. I don't.
You don't?
No.
We'll go back and look it up.
Okay.
Anyway, there were some
explain,
great.
what is it?
There were some great 16-bit era like side-scrolling.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Star Wars games for the Super Nintendo.
I remember.
You know,
Ryan.
thank you.
Do you remember?
I think I've seen stuff from it because I've done projects on like
Empire.
Star Wars games
good.
before. So
Anyway,
I think I know what you're
don't
talking
leave
about.
me
Vic
hanging.
had
Don't leave me
suggested, wouldn't it have been cool to get like episode 7, 8, 9 sort of spiritual sequels to those done by small teams where they could have put them out on all platforms, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, mobile, PC, you know, small scale stuff like that. And then, I mean, of course, on up to, hey, I know this is, again, so much easier said than done, but maybe Dragon Age could have gotten set aside and they could have had BioWare make Knights of the Old Republic 3.
Yeah.
So much easier
Maybe
said
they
than
did.
done. But
I mean, yeah, it's kind of sounds like it. Like they wanted that Uncharted Star Wars game, and
then they didn't.
then they didn't.
And they didn't. But yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, hopefully there is a lot of reason to be optimistic about Jedi Fallen Order, which is presumably out this holiday. And then, yeah, I think you're totally right, Destin. I think Battlefront 3 is, if not this holiday also, then presumably next year, because they've gone alternating years, because that's one team, that's a team at DICE.
Yeah.
Battlefield and Battlefront, and this would be a Battlefront year. But yeah, I do kind of wonder.
With Fallen Order coming out, maybe you
Might
put
hold
another year in a Battlefront.
Exactly.
Well, maybe it's a launch for the next
That's
consoles.
entirely possible.
That could be too.
Yeah, that is
Star Wars
entirely
Battlefront
possible.
3, a better campaign.
I mean, remember
Bigger.
how stunningly good did Battlefront 1
Badly.
look when it came out?
Yeah.
You know, we were
Yeah.
like it and
It
from the
demoed really
reveal-
well. It was
Yeah,
so
it
fun.
looked amazing. So yeah, imagine DICE going to work on the new consoles.
I
That'd
could
be
see that too, because like
pretty cool.
anytime you do a sequel, like you want to add something new that you haven't done before. I'm not sure what else you could add to Battlefront 2 without like getting down into the nitty gritty and like really like designing new
I
stuff.
think they
for
had
it.
a lot of mistakes as far as its multiplayer went
Yeah.
in execution. So I think that's going to be the big room for improvement. Even though they like step back and change things, but you know.
So there you go.
It's a lot of Star Wars.
That is the latest on EA and Star Wars. Meanwhile, Brandon Tyrell, big update for Sea of Thieves
Yeah.
this week, and it's a really interesting. They've kind of, in a way, literally rebuilt the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Its most literal byte BYTE size level.
yeah.
So weird and cool.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
They are. they you just totally threw my train of thought off with that bite comment.
Do you need help?
No, they are re-optimizing the game and like the way it's basically the way it's installed and loaded. So what that means is that the install size is
going way down.
Yeah, going way, way, way down. But it does require you to reinstall the game. So with this new update that I think comes out Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday?
Yes. Probably by the time people hear this.
Yes, or at least very soon. You're going to have to go ahead and re-download it and reinstall, but at half the size or close to it. Shouldn't be that.
10 gigabytes.
Shouldn't be that big of a deal
on Xbox One and Xbox One S versus the 35 it was, and then if you've got those higher res textures on there for Xbox One X, it was a 47 gigabyte game and will now be a 25 gigabyte game, and basically the same thing on PC, 27 gigs.
So
PC.
Under half, and it makes sense because best to do this now, get it out of the way. Sea of Thieves is going to get twice as big as it was last year, this year, and the year after that, it'll be twice as big as it was this year. So this game is just increasing in size, and at some point, you're going to have to do this, or it's going to balloon. And now seems like as good a time as any.
Joe Neat, the executive producer, in fact, basically saying just that, explained that this new version is necessary to keep the overall size of the game from spiraling out of control with subsequent updates, and will allow Rare to be able to generate and transfer new builds of the game more quickly in the future. So it's a good thing.
He also said that if you're playing Sea of Thieves and you run into cheaters, that they are also working on that. They banned a bunch of players that were caught cheating, and they are still taking steps to make that process better. So
that's good.
If you cheat, you're going to get caught, and you're not going to be able to sail the Sea of Thieves anymore.
Whose footage is this?
It's IGN Ed's
cool.
the account. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who cheats in Sea of Thieves is the most fun social. Like what kind of complete and utter lack of self-confidence or just
the bad
Ryan,
pirates.
that is a whole topic.
The extra bad pirates.
Oh, it's PC. It's probably Duggan.
Welcome. Oh yeah.
Anyway.
No,
Oh,
Duggan's
okay.
not cheating.
I was like, wow.
It's his gameplay, I think.
Anyway, next up this week, public beta on the way for the Division 2, which, Brendan, I feel like it's a game that hasn't been talked about a ton yet. Seems like they've started to ramp up the publicity on it. Where there's like a new trailer this week, and we had a preview go up, but that game's 2 months away.
That's kind of been Ubisoft's approach last couple of years: is announce when you're ready, go quiet, and then a couple months before launch, you really ramp up the marketing campaign. I'm surprised we haven't seen more from this, though, because based on everything that they say that they're doing, like we went and did the IGN first on the first division and really dove really, really deep into that one. It came out, it had some problems at launch that Ubisoft pretty quickly corrected.
Yeah,
the amount of support after launch on that game was actually very impressive.
And the game was, I would say, extremely popular. It was a really hot game for a good couple months there.
Right.
It has a good loop. I have a ton of game time in Division 2. I was surprised when I booted up my Xbox and saw just how much Division 1. Sorry,
yes.
yeah. I was surprised to see how much game time I had in it. And I don't know. They haven't been talking too much about Division 2. I think this is my gameplay from E3. I don't know. But I played through all the different perspectives when we were at E3. And, man, it really gets its hooks in you really quick because it has this really good loop of going into these mini missions. And they sort of culminate in a really dramatic ending where you have to fend off an area or something. And I had a lot of fun with that.
This can't be your footage. You just missed.
It's definitely not mine.
You never
so
missed.
polite.
Yeah,
Dude,
like
okay now. Give me a break.
with any game as a service, right? It's really about that loop, and it's more importantly, it's about that loop at the end of the game. Like once you get there, what keeps you playing?
Yeah.
The Division 2 kind of faltered in that.
Division 1.
The original Division.
It didn't have a good loot game. It didn't have a good loot game.
Is it Friday?
At first,
Feels like a Friday.
Yeah, maybe.
the raid thing that they promised was just sort of They banned a bunch of people because they were like farming using this method where you could farm like credits, and
I forgot about
that.
that.
So like the whole thing, they kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Glossing over all that though, the post-launch support for that game was pretty stellar.
Yeah, but then they started to garner a new audience when they released those things like the survival mode and the other things I can't remember the name of. They were apparently really good.
Really good.
I dropped it super quick. I just couldn't get into it.
I did the main campaign.
I got to the end. I got to max level, did some Dark Zone stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm
Did
like,
you review it?
no, I didn't review it. I believe Vince in Genito reviewed it.
He did.
I did the IGN first though, so I felt very like anytime you do an IGN, like anytime you spend a month profiling a game, you want it to succeed and you want it to do well. And so I played a lot of it, but I got to that point of life cycle in a game as service game where now I am fighting RNG for the best drop, the best in slot gun, the best in slot piece of gear. And there's just too much else to do, especially in this industry, right? But we live in a day and age where, like, if I am not having a blast every day, there's another game I could be playing.
Yeah, if it's not solid, if
I
your friends have
forgot.
dropped off, it's too easy to move on.
Well, you've got another shot here, or the Division is going to take another shot.
The gameplay loop's really good. We actually didn't talk too much about the public beta and what to expect in there. They're doing the Dark Zone different. Yeah. They're having different types of Dark Zone now.
They're multiple,
they're doing a multiplayer type service now, and they have regular old Dark Zone where you can go in and fight each other.
Yeah.
You can also play as like 3 different classes. Is that correct, Brandon? Like you can play normal, you can play renegade or something. I don't want to say anything because I didn't write down any notes before coming in, but they've really changed it. Definitely check out their initial reveal for how they're revamping the Dark Zone.
Yeah,
And
definitely has me intrigued.
That beta, this is the whole reason we're talking about this, is going to launch. It's going to go from February 7th through the 10th. So it is coming up fairly soon.
After the open Anthem beta, you can play the Division 2 beta.
Yeah, although this one, so it's players gain access to the beta by pre-ordering the game or by registering for limited spaces through the Division's website. This I don't know anything, but
that's how you get in the public
usually how that goes is they try to make it an exclusive, come and get it thing, and then by the last couple days of it, they open up.
They open up.
But again, I don't know anything. I'm just telling you what
good news.
What
fans.
history suggests.
We've decided to open the flood. Yeah. Say what you will, or whatever your thoughts are about Ubisoft. They know how to support a game. They showed that with Division 1, so I'm really
Rainbow Six Siege and For
For
Honor.
Honor, and I'm really curious to see what de facto post-launch support looks like as a new game now. Like so we haven't seen a Rainbow Six Siege 2. And we haven't seen a For Honor 2 yet.
True.
So this is the first like game as a service game we're getting a sequel for from Ubisoft. So I'm really curious to see what all that sort of post-launch discipline looks like in a new game.
I want to see the world where Destiny, Anthem, and Division are all in the same space and see who ends out on top, because it's going to be a real intriguing time through. When does this come out? March? One's March.
This is March, and
Anthem's February.
Yeah,
so they're exactly 1 month apart.
Anthem's February 15th.
Yeah.
Anybody who's like super
25th.
It's 22nd technically,
Access?
but you get it a week early if
Yeah.
you are an Origin Premier member, or if I feel bad about talking about Anthem in a Division spot, but if you're an Origin Premier member, or if you pre-order, I believe you get it a week early, so it effectively comes out the 15th.
Yeah, and then Division comes out about 1 month later and sometime.
This is interesting because 1 month of Anthem might be enough to get you to a point where you're like, okay, I'm now at endgame.
Yeah.
I think it's smart of Ubisoft. Once you're at Endgame and Anthem, you're like, hey, let's check out the Division 2.
Yeah.
Then you do that. Then you get to Endgame and Division 2. Theoretically, you're just going to be going back and forth as they release new content.
Yeah, if you like both of those kinds of games, they're wildly different. So.
And then Destiny.
Destiny has their
New
annual
content.
pass. Destiny will also be releasing their spring update to whatever that is going to be. I believe it's more focused on Gambit or something. I can't remember. Season of the Drifter, I think, is the next one. I don't remember.
What I'm really curious about is the monetization structure of these games as service games. Because Anthem isn't going to, from what BioWare has told us, and we went up there and talked to them, they are not charging for anything. They have built Anthem from the ground up so that they just hit a bunch of levers and dials on a computer and change everything in the game if they want to.
So how are they monetizing it? Cosmetics?
Exact cosmetics,
Yeah.
Cosmetics, and then theoretically at some point in the future, they could decide to maybe potentially release new javelins that aren't going to be critical to the content to play, but like give you another option to play it. But I'm curious to see if anybody goes paid expansions. I'm curious to see where that puts them in line with the other two. It's gonna be a really interesting year.
It is,
Yeah.
for sure.
Good time to be a fan of shared world shooters, I guess.
Yeah.
Duggan, this
Yeah,
is
get your
2019. It's coming up, Duggan.
Just for you. And the last story I want to get to, already like 45 minutes into the show. I wish Jonathan Dornbush were here, but this is still fun. I'm a big Disneyland fan. A hotel at Tokyo Disney is being given a temporary Kingdom Hearts 3 makeover, so I think we might have to send Miranda out
I want to
there
go. I want to go to
well.
this so bad.
The Disney Ambassador Hotel at the Tokyo Disney Resort is making over a number of its rooms with a Kingdom Hearts theme. Guests will be given special room keys in the shape of Sora's Keyblade to get in and out.
Incredible.
You'll get 2 sets of Keyblades and postcards as a memento when you check out. The headboards, tables, artwork on the walls all feature characters and themes from the series. It's a $425 a night room, Miranda, so it's
Go
not
for 2
cheap.
nights.
It's not cheap, but
Or,
it's kind of about in line with Disney pricing.
Yeah, but say that's all you get. Vacation for the next few years. That's all. But it'll be very special. I think if I were to do that, I would just stay in the room. It's like I'm not leaving unless it comes
You're not
with free
even going
tickets.
to you're not even going to the park.
You know, you can see. Oh yeah, Disney World. All right, just gonna turn back in here and enjoy this nice room.
So reasonable. I'm glad it's reasonably priced for an experience like this.
You could just bring your Xbox with Kingdom Hearts 3
That's what I
and
was thinking.
play the game inside the hotel room.
It's like, okay, you get caught up with all the Kingdom Hearts games, and then you pack up your Xbox, you just head out to that hotel, and you're like, this is the true experience to celebrate finally the release of Kingdom Hearts 3. That's how you do it.
The only time I've ever stayed at a Hotel Disney, there was one year when IGN, still owned by Fox, I think, for some reason we went to Tokyo Game Show, and they're like, there are no hotels left anywhere. We have to put you up at Disney.
I did that one year too.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was very cool.
But
and also inconvenient.
yeah,
you had to go through Disney
very
every
inconvenient,
day.
Very inconvenient because you get on the Disneyland tram to
The
get
monorail?
on the
Yeah, so-
monorail to get on the
Monorail.
subway.
I could just picture you
and then
lugging
go to-
gear
yeah.
on through.
It was a nightmare.
Oh my
through
goodness.
Tokyo Disney
Yeah.
on the monorail. Oh my god!
You're
I
exhausted after TGS because
Yeah.
that show gets very
So
busy.
good.
Yeah.
And then you go home. You're like, all right, I just want to go lay down. And then you have to get on this other little monorail, and it's just playing Disney music on repeat. And all these kids are super excited. And you're like, guys, I can't handle this energy.
Yeah. And then you put your gear away, and then you go to Disney, and then
Yeah,
you're
then you
okay.
go to Disney and
Yeah.
you forget you're tired. And it's
Yeah.
great. So,
It's the best.
Anyway, yeah, this sounds neat. Sorry.
aren't they doing something like this for Star Wars, but not a limited time thing, but here?
So in Florida,
Yeah.
at Disney World, not Disneyland in California. Yeah, that was part of the whole when they made the big announcement about the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the new land, the new actually area of the park that's coming to both Disneyland and Disney World. So they are building a Star Wars themed hotel that is apparently, they said it's literally you are LARPing.
Oh.
No, I'm serious. Apparently
I
the
love that.
windows.
So you just can't hit anything with your blaster.
The windows the windows are covered up, and they'll have a thing where it looks like you're looking out into space, and all this
animated.
I don't know. Like they're gonna
Ryan,
I could
tell
see
me the
them doing
details.
that.
they're
of
gonna
this
try
hotel.
and fool you into thinking you're in space. And then I guess all the staff is completely
Yeah.
like they're characters. They're Star Wars, not like Luke or Leia or anything like that, but just they're in character the whole time. And I guess all the rooms are just everything's all themed out in Star Wars, and it's like it sounds like an absolutely insane immersive Star Wars experience.
That's going to be booked up forever.
Forever.
You will never be
all
able to get a
time.
room, and I'm sure it'll be very expensive. But if you manage to go, I feel like that would be something that's cool. I could see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, that's a waste of money," but I'm like, no, this is like a strange
Go once.
experience that you can. Yeah, you go once and then like you've got it,
Yeah.
and it's probably really cool, especially if you like love Star Wars, or in this case with the Kingdom Hearts rooms. Like if you love Kingdom Hearts, I think those things are just so nice for like the super fans. It's just like
Yeah.
such a unique thing to do.
Yeah, the Star Wars hotel will probably make the $425 a night Kingdom Hearts room look like a bargain
Yeah.
by comparison.
That's the thing is like these things are really cool. I just like you really got to put the effort in to make them worth that experience.
Oh,
right?
for sure. I
Like
don't-
if they're just gonna change the art on the walls and then change the key cards for the Kingdom Hearts thing, like is that worth $425?
Yeah, some things will do that. Sometimes, I don't know. I have to see photos of this, but it sounds pretty neat. I know Japan also does like a lot of themed things, like they'll
Yes.
do cafes and stuff, and those are just so fun.
Got it.
And usually the food can be pretty good too. So yeah, I don't know. They're just fun to go to.
Good stuff. And finally, that game, you'll be talking about that game on this show in like a week or two.
Maybe.
It's finally coming out.
I'm scared. I haven't finished. I haven't caught up yet. I don't know if I can do it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
might have
that's
to.
right.
I might have to
Your
swap
quest.
out. Yeah, I'm on an adventure and I can't jump in too early.
All right, let's do the loot box real quick. We are running out of time.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a great question from Kyle Rogers, who asks, if you could bring back any developer from the dead, which would it be? I'm going to start. I got an old school PC answer, which I know I'll just put half the audience to sleep. But my answer is absolutely Looking Glass. I equate them to the Beatles of video game developers. They were just made incredible stuff for a very short peak and then disbanded, and they've been very influential ever since. Everything from Prey to the BioShock series is absolutely a result of Looking Glass. They made Thief, they made System Shock, they made Ultima Underworld. They did insane stuff. They had Doug Church, they had Ken Levine, they had Warren Spector. They had this like insane Paul Neurath, just this like Hall of Fame roster of game developers.
Super group.
Yeah. So man, that would be really cool to see Looking Glass come back in this hypothetical situation. Because then maybe we could get like a proper new Thief game. I know we are getting a new System Shock 3 from Warren Spector and Paul Neurath, so that might be the closest that I get. But good stuff. Looking Glass was cool. Destin?
I'll go with Silicon Knights. They created Legacy of Kain. They tried something with Two Human that was really interesting.
Eternal Darkness, my favorite GameCube game.
Eternal Darkness.
God, what a good answer.
Yeah. I didn't want to give it away before the show.
Yeah, you were
I thought
teasing
I would
it.
get this reaction.
I totally.
But
Two Human could have been so good.
They have so much potential with the properties that they managed to create, and they're just sort of in the wind now, right?
Yeah.
And I believe they're defunct as of 2014 because of the
Dennis has since formed a couple of other companies, but yeah, their Silicon Knights is long gone.
Yeah, so I would love to see at least conceptually that team come back together and create something really amazing, because the games that they were creating were cool. They were like on anything we had seen before. Amy Hennig on Blood Omen, maybe did she just do the Legacy?
She was Legacy of Kain, yeah.
Just Soul Reaver?
I'm
so she did Soul Reaver forward, because Blood Omen Legacy of Kain is the first in the series.
Yeah, I'm not positive on that, but
okay.
So if you could bring them back with your the genie with you've got the lamp, you can get that wish granted. Do you want like Two Human 2 that we never got? Do you want Eternal Darkness 2, or do you want them to just make something
more
new
human than human
with that group of people?
Make something new that's good.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, whip that right up.
That's it. Yeah. But selfishly, anybody, please bring back Legacy of Kain. Just do a Resident Evil.
Anybody,
anyone.
Sony's bringing back Medieval. We can bring back Legacy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just remake them.
Did anyone ask for Crash Team Racing Refueled?
Yeah,
No.
right?
Someone did. For sure.
Probably Jonathan Dorbush.
Miranda.
That's
Yes, hello. I have two answers. I'll be pretty quick with them. First one kind of ties in with this episode is Visceral, of course. Both of mine are actually really recent. With Visceral, obviously they did Dead Space. They're working on the Star Wars game and Amy Hennig. I was like, this is something that I really wanted to see fulfilled, and I was really curious to see where they're going to go with games going forward. So it's really disappointing to see them gone, and I would like them to get their second chance, next wind, keep going.
I like it.
And the next was Telltale, which I know was obviously very, very recent, very tragic, and that they were closed the way they were, and like obviously a lot to like it was down to project management, which I think was really indicative of like the games that they came out with. They were just kind of following the same formula, not that the stories were all the same, but you were never really surprised by anything they did after they kind of established what they did.
That's true. That's fair.
And I would love to see someone with, new ideas coming in and saying, hey, this is how we're changing our formula, or this is how we're evolving what we're doing. Because I think when you kind of just sit with something and get stagnant, that's when things get kind of difficult. And I think there's a lot of potential for that studio to do some really cool things. But I don't think they were really given that opportunity to do it.
I like that you took two Bay Area studios as well,
Yeah.
keeping it home.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Sorry,
take us home.
I know it's rude to be on my phone, but you actually reminded me of a developer that I thought would be really cool to bring back. They're not defunct. This isn't my answer. They're not defunct,
Okay.
but Raven Software, I wish they would go back.
Oh, they work on the Call of Duty map.
I wish they would go back to making.
Wolverine.
That's a really good
The Wolverine
answer.
video game.
They made a lot of stuff.
So I was a Raven super fan back in the day. Like I
Madison, Wisconsin represent.
Yeah, I was on a
That's where they're based.
Sentence I've never heard anyone say before.
No, yeah, I was
I've been there.
I was on like a Raven fan site, like way back in the early internet days. I mean, yeah, Heretic
Yeah,
Hexen. The very underrated Heretic 2, which was a third-person action game, whereas the original Heretic was first-person. Hexen 2 was still really good. Of course, Jedi Knight 2, one of the all-time great Star Wars games. Yeah, Raven is that's a strong.
They had a lot of bangers before they started exclusively working on.
Activision buried them, turned them into a support studio.
My actual answer is so there are a lot of studios that made games that I love that I would love to God, I want another game. Like I want another game in that series. But I think looking at the studio as whole, it would have to be either Sierra or Black Isle. And Black Isle sort of transitioned into Obsidian Games, which is, what we have now that just got acquired by Microsoft. So very excited for more RPGs from them. But man, Baldur's Gate 2, I would have loved to see what that team was capable of sticking together. And
Icewind Dale. Wait, was that Obsidian or was that
Black Isle? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, Planescape Torment was Black Isle.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Icewind Dale was Obsidian, but Planescape Torment is one of the greatest role-playing games of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's regarded as one of the best written, some of the best writing in any.
That's the thing that they do is they tell stories in that sort of universe really well. But Sierra and all of their Quest series,
King's Quest, Space Quest,
Police Quest, and then that other super famous series that they did.
Leisure Suit Larry.
No, not King's Quest. Not Leisure Suit Larry, although there's a place in my heart for that little weirdo.
The originals, the last couple.
Anyway, there's a lot of, and all the developers that made the old school gold box CRPGs, I love all of those so much.
Stuff.
I also just wanted to throw out Blitz Games. Sorry to interrupt, but they made Fusion Frenzy, and the second one was not the same. So if they can make another, they also made a Barbie horse adventure game. People really like those.
It was
legendary original Xbox game, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So it's not a
Fusion Frenzy, one of the first games you could play on Xbox Live.
Yeah, it was such a special game to me. Still is to this day. So. That was my other one that I forgot to shout out. That I was like, oh.
It was like a futuristic Mario Party kind of, right?
So good.
Let's do the Unlock Block Trivia Challenge real quick. Again, the year is young. We gotta make it happen here.
We only have one.
Oh, this guy has the best gamer tag I've ever seen.
So Chris, whose gamer tag is
Dude Large Pants,
asks which 2004 original Xbox game featured the voice acting of Gwen Stefani, she of No Doubt at the time, only to see her replaced just prior to the game's release. So did Gwen Stefani voice but not ultimately voice Malice, Phantom Dust, The Herbs, Sims in the City, and yes, that is a real game, or Blinks 2, Masters of Time and Space? I happen to know this one.
Do you really?
Yeah, this one, it's just old trivia that still exists in my brain. Does anybody know this? Destin thinks he knows, so I'm going to go Miranda's Way first.
I don't think I know, but I think C would be
The Herbs?
That's what I'm going with. Yeah.
Okay. Brandon?
Yeah, it feels like a move EA would do back then. Big name star. Malice.
Destin.
It's Malice.
It is Malice.
Was that the Alice in Wonderland one?
It was the one where she had a big hammer.
Okay.
And it was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Three-way tie here early in the year. Everybody on the board with a point. I like that.
I was rooting for Malice, but it turned out to be a dud. And I remember following all the stories. So.
Yeah,
and I was a big No Doubt fan back in the day.
Yeah.
If
like their music.
Don't speak. They had a big
Walking in the spiderweb.
Yeah. They had a big statue of Alice with her butcher knife covered in blood on her apron in their Atrium Cafe.
That was you're talking about
Alice.
Alice, yeah.
American McGee's Alice now.
Oh,
totally different.
Yeah, but there's
one.
Not Malice, Alice.
Oh, okay. I got it way off then.
Anyway,
Brandon accidentally got it right.
We got to hit the road here. So if you would like to participate in either the loot box or the Unlocked Block Trivia Challenge, email us at unlocked@ign.com. You know what to do. Get those 4 multiple choice answers for the trivia. Note the correct one. And with your loot box, just send in a cool question for us or about games or whatever you want to talk about. I'm Ryan McCaffrey. You can find me on Twitter at DMC_Ryan. Please join us next week let's see, this isn't going to air till Tuesday. So
yes,
on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, we have the world premiere live stream. BioWare will be here. We will be streaming that with them. So get your first look at the upcoming demo for Anthem right here with us on IGN.com or our YouTube or Twitch, whatever place you want to watch it at. But that's going to be super exciting.
I'm looking forward to it.
And yeah, we're going to have fun.
Yes.
Destin?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at DestinGary, on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Destin Channel. Brandon?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Brandon Tyrell, just my name. Next week we have a lot of cool stuff coming. A lot of Anthem-focused stuff. We're still doing our Anthem IGN first. I'm going to be... Yeah, we can talk about that. I have a big preview going up next week, so you can check that out as well.
Nice.
Miranda, take us home.
Yes, and you can follow me at Havoc Rose, and that's Havoc with a K on Twitter, Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else.
Love it. All right, thanks, everybody. Hope you're having an excellent week, and we will see you next week.